So your musical Moby Dick, it ran for 4 months in the West End. How do you feel and behave when you're in the centre of attention and the spotlight of the West End musical?
It was beautiful. It was such an exciting time. I mean, because it was a Cameron Mackintosh musical, and you know, for those, I mean, there might be some people who haven't heard of Cameron. This is the guy who owns Les Miserables. He half owns Phantom of the Opera. He owns Miss Saigon. He's the producer of Hamilton. This is the biggest producer in the world. And me and my friend Robert Longdon, who co-created, we created Moby Dick. He was primarily the writer and came up with the whole mad idea. And I was the composer, but I'm a lyricist too. So, you know, there were co-lyrics going on. But we created this whole thing, and he asked me to create some demos and said he was going to firebomb Producerland. So I put together 6 demos of 6 of the songs, and he sent them all off, and he sent it out to 6 different producers. And the only one who actually bothered to reply was Cameron Mackintosh, who was the one we wanted. And he phoned from somewhere or other and said, I really like your musical and get in touch. And he was so out of our league, we didn't actually take the message seriously. We had various friends who knew that we'd done this, and we just thought it was a spoof. And then 3 weeks later, there's another voicemail on Robert's phone, and it's, this is still Cameron Mackintosh phoning from New York, and do you want to speak to me, you know? And so we got in touch with him, and he told us he had this little tryout theatre, the fire station, the old fire station in Oxford, and he'd give us £10,000 to, you know, find a cast and put on a demo of the show so he could see it. And Robert, who was kind of the Cecil B. DeMille of Fringe Theatre at the time, said, £10,000, he said, we need 20. So Cameron agreed to 20. And we kind of begged, borrowed and stole, you know, the talent from various different theatre schools, real new young talent. And we put this show on in Oxford, and there were queues round the block. And there was the beautiful day when I went in, and my agent said, you need to come to this little room, and there were all sorts of men in suits. And there was the vellum on the table and the proffered pen. And it was a contract to take the show into the West End. So it was, as Robert said, it was a glitter ball dropping into his life. It felt like that to me as well. And then because it was Cameron, there was so much press build-up to the whole thing. For the first time in my life, I had the Telegraph weekend magazine people round my house photographing how I spent my weekends, and you know, there was a big kind of feature on just me and my lifestyle at home. You know, you're suddenly thrust into this world. You go to London, and every other London bus that's coming past you has "Coming Soon, Moby Dick" on the front and sides of it. That's an incredible feeling, coming out of Piccadilly Circus tube, you know, as you've done for years and years, and there's London buses coming past you with the show's name. And then obviously rehearsals. As the composer, there is no more joyful experience than a cast of 20 or more voices lustily banging out your own music, your own tunes. It's beautiful. And then they're on stage, and you're seeing it all in costume, you're seeing it under lights. You know that, you know that the You know, the advanced sales are going well and all that sort of stuff. And there's this whole kind of press build-up. And then, amazingly, opening night is upon you. And it's like when Facebook first happened, we all found old friends from various walks of life materializing in our life, didn't we? People we'd been to school with and hadn't thought of for years. It's like that when people know you're opening a show in the West End. You're suddenly getting lovely handwritten letters from, this was in '92, so it kind of predates, you know, the whole Facebook generation. You're getting lovely handwritten letters and cards and all sorts of good luck mementos from people you haven't heard or thought of or seen for years. And that's a lovely thing. And then, you know, old friends are materializing in the bar next door, and there's limos arriving, there's arc lights outside the theatre. You're shuffling in with the general public. The mezzanine bar above your head is full of people. You've been rehearsing in this empty theatre, and suddenly it's full of people. And, you know, the disembodied tannoy voice is saying, this evening's performance is about to begin. So you take your seat, shuffling with the public, and then you sit there playing Spot the Critic, because they were all there. You know, the Guardian flew Michael Billington back from New York, especially because they were waiting to see Cameron fail. He'd never had a failure. And they kind of had their knives sharpened. You know, it's the way of the world. And this was very different to Cameron's other shows, very different. This was almost like his punk musical, you know, and which was, he loved our show because it wasn't like his other shows. Yeah, so you're playing, so you're sitting there playing Spot the Critic, and it's really easy to spot them because, Robert, they're the only ones who aren't smiling. Everybody else is happy. And then you've got these misery girls kind of sitting there sharpening their pencils. And then suddenly the show's underway. It's an incredible feeling. It is a feeling that you've arrived, and yet, have you arrived? You haven't had those all-important notices in the press.
Yeah.